Ever feel like you're drowning in your own life? Like you keep adding more things, more commitments, more stuff, thinking that's what success looks like? What if we told you the answer isn't about finding a new life somewhere else, but about removing the excess from the one you already have? The problem we all face. We've all been there, haven't we? Standing in our closets full of clothes we never wear, scrolling through our phones with 100 apps we barely touch, saying yes to plans we don't really want to attend. Modern life has this sneaky way of piling up on us. We keep thinking that if we just add one more thing, buy one more item, start one more project, we'll finally feel complete. But here's the weird part. The more we add, the emptier we feel. There's this constant pressure around us telling us to upgrade everything. Get a bigger house, buy a newer car, expand your social circle, take on more responsibilities at work. Society practically shouts at us that more equals better. And we listen because, well, everyone else seems to be doing it too. But then, late at night, when everything goes quiet, we feel this strange heaviness. Our homes feel cluttered, our schedules feel suffocating, and our minds feel like they're running on a hamster wheel that never stops. The truth is, we've confused having more with being more. We've mistaken accumulation for achievement. And somewhere along the way, we forgot that life doesn't have to be this complicated. That's exactly where Japanese minimalism comes in. And trust us, it's not what you might think it is. What Japanese minimalism actually means. When most people hear minimalism, they picture those stark white rooms with nothing but a single plant in the corner. But Japanese minimalism is something completely different, something much more human and approachable. It's not about living in an empty box or getting rid of everything you own. It's about creating space for what genuinely matters by removing what doesn't. The Japanese have this beautiful concept called ma, which basically means the space between things. It's the pause between musical notes, the gap between objects, the breathing room in your daily life. Japanese culture understands that emptiness isn't negative, it's actually essential. That space is where peace lives, where creativity blooms, where you can finally hear your own thoughts. Think about traditional Japanese homes for a second. They're simple, sure, but they're also incredibly intentional. Every item has a purpose and a place. Nothing is there just because. This approach comes from centuries of living on islands with limited resources, where people learned that quality beats quantity every single time. They figured out that owning less doesn't mean living less. Sometimes it means living more fully because you're not constantly managing, organizing, and stressing about your stuff. Now, here's where things get interesting. We've spent years believing that fixing our lives meant adding solutions. Feeling stressed? Add meditation to your routine. Feeling disconnected? Add more social activities. Feeling unfulfilled? Add a new hobby. But what if we've been approaching it backwards this whole time? Japanese minimalism flips the script entirely. Instead of asking, "What else do I need?" it asks, "What can I let go of?" This shift sounds small, but it's actually revolutionary. When we started looking at our lives through this lens, everything changed. We realized that our problems weren't from lacking something, they were from having too much of things that didn't serve us. Take our schedules, for example. Most of us are running around like we're in some kind of productivity Olympics, cramming in as many activities as possible. We've got work meetings, social obligations, side projects, hobby groups, and somewhere in there we're supposed to eat, sleep, and maybe enjoy ourselves. But when we applied the minimalist approach, we started asking a different question. Which of these things actually adds value to our life? Not which things look good on paper or impress other people, but which ones genuinely make us feel alive and fulfilled? The answer was surprising. Turns out, most of the stuff filling our calendars was just noise. Obligations we'd said yes to without thinking, commitments that made us feel important but left us feeling drained. Activities we thought we should enjoy but honestly didn't. When we started saying no to these things, when we started subtracting them from our lives, something magical happened. We didn't feel like we were missing out. We felt like we could finally breathe. The practical side of less. Now, let's talk about how this actually works in real life, because theory is nice, but application is where the rubber meets the road. Japanese minimalism isn't some abstract philosophy. It's a practical approach you can use today. Start with your physical space. Walk around your home and really look at your stuff. How much of it do you actually use? How much of it brings you genuine joy or serves a real purpose? The Japanese have this practice where they hold items and ask if it sparks joy. But we'd add another question. Does this add value to my daily life? That coffee maker you used once and shoved in the back of the cupboard, the decorative items collecting dust, the clothes with tags still on them, they're not just taking up physical space, they're taking up mental energy too. Every item you own requires something from you. It needs to be cleaned, organized, moved, maintained, or at a minimum, mentally cataloged. That's exhausting. When we started removing things that didn't serve us, our homes didn't feel empty, they felt peaceful. We could actually find what we needed. Cleaning became easier, and weirdly, we appreciated what we kept so much more. But physical stuff is just the beginning. What about your digital life? Most of us have phones that are basically electronic junkyards, apps we downloaded once and forgot about, thousands of photos we'll never look at, email subscriptions we never read. All of this creates this low-level stress we don't even realize we're carrying. Applying minimalism here means being just as intentional with your digital space as your physical space. Delete the apps that don't serve you. Unsubscribe from those endless promotional emails. Create simple folders instead of chaotic desktops. Your phone should make your life easier, not more complicated. The relationship revolution. Here's something nobody talks about enough. Minimalism applies to relationships too, and this might be the most important part. We've been taught that having lots of friends and a packed social calendar means we're successful and well-liked. But quality absolutely beats quantity when it comes to human connection. Think about your relationships honestly. How many of them genuinely energize you? How many leave you feeling drained? We're not saying to cut people off harshly or become antisocial. We're saying that recognize your time and energy are finite, precious resources. When you spread them too thin across dozens of surface-level connections, you don't have enough left for the relationships that truly matter. Japanese culture has this understanding that depth creates meaning. They'd rather have a few close friends they see regularly than 100 acquaintances they barely know. When we started applying this, when we stopped trying to maintain relationships that had run their course or that were based more on obligation than genuine connection, we didn't become lonely. We became more connected. The relationships we kept and nurtured grew deeper and more meaningful because we finally had the space to invest in them properly. The biggest change, though, happens in your head. Japanese minimalism isn't ultimately about your stuff or your schedule. It's about your mindset. It's about breaking free from the cultural programming that tells you more is always better, that busy means important, that accumulation equals success. We've been conditioned to chase upgrades constantly. Bigger apartments, fancier gadgets, more impressive job titles, fuller calendars. But here's what nobody mentions. That chase never ends. There's always something bigger, better, newer. You reach one goal and immediately start eyeing the next one. It's exhausting. And it's designed to be never-ending because our economy literally depends on us always wanting more. Japanese minimalism offers a different path. It says maybe you already have enough. Maybe your life doesn't need an overhaul. It needs editing. Maybe instead of constantly adding, you should start thoughtfully removing. When you remove the excess, what remains becomes visible. Your actual priorities, your real values, the things and people that genuinely matter to you. Living with intentionality. At its core, that's what this whole thing is about. Intentionality. Japanese minimalism teaches us to be deliberate about how we live, not to follow some one-size-fits-all rulebook, but to constantly ask ourselves what serves our actual lives versus what we're keeping or doing just because we think we should. This means different things for different people. For some, it might mean a sparse home with minimal possessions. For others, it might mean a full bookshelf, but an empty social calendar. The point isn't to achieve some aesthetic or follow strict rules. The point is to create a life that feels right to you, not cluttered with other people's expectations and society's shoulds. We thought we needed a fresh start, a new life, a complete transformation. Turns out, we just needed to clear away the excess from the life we already had. Japanese minimalism showed us that freedom doesn't come from having more options. It comes from being content with less. That peace doesn't require adding meditation apps and wellness routines. It comes from removing the chaos creating stress in the first place. When you strip away what doesn't matter, what remains is surprisingly beautiful. It's not empty or sad or lacking. It's clear and peaceful and full of meaning. That's the real magic of choosing less.